Hi, I'm Janet, and I'm here in the ADORNit studio today to show you how to do this cute project that I was able to design and create featuring our ADORNit ribbon. We do ribbon to match all of our ADORNit fabric lines. And so the ribbon that I'm using today coordinates with our Crazy for Daisy line of fabric. And these two went specifically with that line. That line of fabric comes in two colorways. There's a sunshine colorway, which is yellows and grays, and then there's a juicy fruit colorway that is these yummy colors, kind of the bright spring reds and blues and greens and yellows. And that's what I chose to use today. This pillow project, this is one that I used the sunshine colorway fabric for and ribbon, so you can see what that looks like. And I just thought it would be fun. I don't think many people know about our ribbons and how beautiful they are and how fun they are when you mix them with the fabric. And so we thought it'd be fun to create a project that uses the ribbon and kind of shows it off. This is a really fun project because you do one thing and then you get two pillows. So it's kind of a fun little project, and you get double the return on your labors. So when you're finished, you have a pillow that looks like this. This one doesn't have a pillow form in it, but you'll have a pillow that looks like this. So they can kind of match and coordinate in your house or wherever you're going to put them. So let's get started. To do this pillow, you need a pillow form. The pillow form that I have, and then I'm going to do the size of pillow for today. This is a 12 by 12 inch pillow form. A year or so ago, I did a pillow with our Princess line of fabric, and this is all of our Princess ribbon, and this is a 14 by 14. So you can do it whatever size. It does need to be square, though. Pretty much needs to be a square pillow. But there are different sizes. There's 12 by 12, there's 14 by 14, 16 by 16. You can get them in all different sizes. So I'm doing a 12 by 12. I am a rebel, and so I cut this tag off because it just annoys me when I try to put the pillow in a thing, and then we'll use that later. So for a 12 by 12 inch pillow, you're going to cut a 14 by 14 inch square. So that's what I have right here. You're actually going to cut two of those. So I'll just demonstrate on one, but you'll have two squares because you're going to have two pillows when you're done. And then in order to place the ribbon on it properly, the easiest thing to do is to mark the center. So I do that by just folding the square exactly in half and then pressing it very firmly right down the middle, and then you open it back up and you have a really good visual line of where the center of the fabric square is. Now, this is the fun part about this project, I think. You need to place the ribbon on the fabric, and I tried a couple of different ways trying to figure out how to anchor the ribbon. We're going to sew it on, but it needs to be anchored on fairly securely before you sew. And so I found this product that I'm really in love with. It's called Peel and Stick. It's made by Thermoweb, and it's called Peel and Stick Fabric Fuse. And it is just like tape, and you pull it off. I'll show you. I'll demonstrate in just a minute how to use it. But I've loved it, and I've used it on several projects since I discovered it. The first lines of ribbon that you're going to use, and it might be easier if I show you a finished one. This is what it's going to look like when we're done. So for my pillow, I wanted the center section to be wider than the sections in between each ribbon. And the reason for that is the closer they are together, the smaller this center square is going to be. And I actually wanted this center square to be a little bit bigger, so I widened my space a little bit for this pillow that I did today. So this, from the center line that you've pressed, I went an inch on either side, so you've got 2 inches in between. Now the very first one of these I ever did, I just measured and marked a line, and that gets tedious. So I thought this in the middle of the night one night, this ribbon is 1 inch wide. So this is what I'm going to use for my spacer. So I'm going to lay that right along the fold, and then I'm going to apply the actual ribbon. So this tape is sticky on one side, and you can just stick it right to the ribbon and trim it off. And then it sticks really well to the fabric or the ribbon or whatever you're sticking it to, and you just peel the paper back, and you have the, I don't know if you can see it, but you have the adhesive now on the ribbon. And then I just, using the first ribbon as my spacer, I laid it right up against there and stuck that one down. Okay, and now you can do the same thing on the other side. There's my spacer. There's my ribbon. You do want to make sure that the adhesive goes down the center of the ribbon, because we are going to sew the ribbon on to the pillow front when we're done, and it'll kind of gum up the needle on your sewing machine if you're stitching right over that adhesive. So if you lay it right down the middle, and I'll show you the trick I used for the narrower ribbon in just a minute, and that way when you're sewing right along the edge of the ribbon, you're not getting the adhesive in your sewing machine needle. Okay, here's my second row. All right, then we're going to go with the yellow, and I'll just do one more so you can see how to do the narrower ribbon. Now, the space in between the next 3 ribbons, I wanted to be half as wide. So ta-da, this ribbon is half as wide as this ribbon. So this is what I used as my spacer for the next ribbon. So we'll lay that down there as the spacer. Now, I couldn't find this peel and stick tape. I actually bought this at Walmart. I've seen it at Hobby Lobby. I've seen it at Joann's. So you can get it a number of places. This is the only width. This is 5/8. This is the only width that I could find it in. If I could find it narrower, I would buy it. So what I did to make it narrower, and I tried laying this on a number of different things, but I discovered on my cutting mat it doesn't stick permanently. And then I just carefully trimmed it in half. And then you can peel it back up off your cutting mat, and the adhesive doesn't stick to the mat, which is great because you want it to stick to the ribbon, not the mat. I tried it last night on a piece of aluminum foil. Don't do it. It sticks right to the foil and you can't use it. Okay, so stick that, and see I've still got a little tiny bit of edge of ribbon that I can sew along. And not mess up the needle of my sewing machine. So using the ribbon as a spacer, can lay that, stick that right on there, and then pull that out, and you'll just keep advancing the ribbon down just like that in whatever order you choose. The tricky part is, and it's not too tricky because I can do it, you need to have 2 of them. So here's my 2. When you're doing the second one, I like to lay the first one out, the first completed one out, and then as I am placing the ribbon for the second one, I make sure that they're lined up just exactly, and as I'm placing the ribbon, I make sure that it looks like it's in exactly the same place. And that's important if you want the corners to line up when you're done, when you're sewing your sections together. So it needs to, they can't be off. They need to be the same on both, as close as you possibly can. So that's the only little tricky part, but it's pretty easy if you just lay them side by side and then compare as you're going along. Now, after you get all your ribbons stuck on, so you'll do this twice. After you get them all stuck on, take it to your sewing machine and just stitch down the very edge of each of the ribbons. So that's takes a little bit of time to do that, but you get a nice, you can probably, I don't know if you can see the stitching lines where I've stitched along the edge of each ribbon. It kind of gives it kind of a little quilted look, and we're all about quilts here at ADORNit. We like that look. And I think it would probably stay once you sewed everything together if you didn't, but I think it's going to be a lot sturdier and the ribbon will stay and it can take more abuse if you stitch the ribbon on. Plus we like that look. Once you have your ribbons all sewn on to your two pillow fronts, I like to flip it over and steam it. Just iron it to kind of press it and make it nice and flat. You might be wondering why we didn't just use an iron-on fusible for the ribbon. A couple of our ribbons have a coating on them that melts if you iron, and so that's why I needed some other kind of fusible, which is why this tape worked really good. If you're just using ribbon that doesn't have any kind of a coating on it that won't melt, you can buy strips of fusible iron-on fabric tape, and I know I've seen that in different widths too, so that's an option. Okay, so you've pressed them, you've sewn them on. This is the fun part. This was the scary part for me when I first did this. But now you need to cut them apart into sections. And you're just going to cut diagonally from corner to corner. Carefully, because you've spent a lot of time up to this point. And you don't really want to have to start over now. Okay, so there's that one. We'll do this one. This is always a little scary for me to cut this up after I've worked so hard. Okay. Just want to make sure you're going directly from corner to corner. All right, now the fun part. You're going to take 2 from one, and it's pretty easy to figure out which 2 you need from each section, and that creates that pillow front. And then you're going to take the other 4 triangles that you have left over and piece them together, and that creates the second pillow front. So you can see on how they look here, and that's just what you've done. And now it's just a matter of sewing each section together. So I take 2 triangles, lay them right sides together, and then just carefully look, kind of make sure that your ribbon is lining up. And if you've placed it carefully, you won't have any trouble. And then you can pin, if you're a pinner, which I think it helps. And then take it to your sewing machine, and with a good 1/4 inch, a generous 1/4 inch seam, sew that seam together. And then press the seam open, press the seam allowances open, and then you'll have that. Then you'll do the same thing with these two, sew them together, press it open, and then you will sew the long center seam together, the generous 1/4 inch, and then press that seam allowance open and open it back up. At that point, I like to turn it over again and just kind of press the whole thing. Just use my steam and press the whole thing. And then you've got a completed pillow top. It will look like this when you're done. One like this and one like this. And let me show you the inside so you can get an idea. And at that point, you'll be ready to sew the backs on. And I like to do these envelope backs so that you can switch out pillows really easy. You can make a whole bunch of different pillow covers and then switch them out for different seasons. But there you can just see what the back looks like after you've sewn it all together. So you've just got a big X and you press the seam allowances open and you're ready to create your back, which is so simple. For the back, remember you started with a 14-inch square. So for the back pieces, you'll have 2 of them, and you want them to be 14 inches one direction. So that's this direction is the 14-inch. And then they need to overlap, but they don't need to be 14 inches square. So I did 14 by 9, figuring that I would hem about 1.5 inches for the opening on each side, and then it would overlap. So you can take your, okay, so before you sew your pieces together, take your pillow front. Oh, and here, I'll just show you quick the hem. I left this undone. To hem the 14-inch edge that's going to create the envelope, just turn it under a 1/4 inch and then press it under again, maybe an inch, and then just stitch close to the edge right there. So you'll have 2 pieces that look exactly like this one. And then take your pillow front, lay it out. This is before you cut it up. So I'm late showing you this step. Lay this piece on and overlap so that it matches the size, and then pin the 2 flat pieces, the envelope pieces together on the edges, and take it to your sewing machine and just baste it together. Just run a little basting stitch. You don't have to do across the whole edge, just to hold those openings closed right there. It'll make it easier to stitch the pillow back on when you're done. Okay, so you've got your pillow front all sewn together. And then you're going to stitch you're going to lay your pillow back piece on. So you'll lay your pillow front right side up on your work surface. You'll lay your pillow back piece face down, so they're right sides together, and stitch all the way around the edges of the pillow. And I use a 1/2 inch seam for this, just so that I'm sure that I'm going to catch everything in and the seam's not going to pull out when I'm done later. I just feel happier if I've used a 1/2 inch. So, and you can stitch all the way around. You don't need to leave a space for turning because you've got the envelope opening to turn it right side out. Stitch all the way around. When you're done stitching it all the way around, you'll just take and trim the corners. This will help you get a nice crisp point when you turn the pillow right side out. Be careful that you don't clip through the stitching. That's my word to the wise. And then you can turn it right side out. And you're done. And put your pillow form in it, and it's adorable. Same thing with the other pillow, and you have a matching set of pillows for whatever you want. And I have not done this, but I thought it would be really cute to put maybe a big button in the middle, or maybe a fabric yo-yo, a big fabric yo-yo. There'd be a lot of different ways that you could adorn that and make it really cute. So that's our project. I hope you get a chance to try this. It's really fun to put it together. And if you make one, send us an email and show it to us. We love to see our products in use with people who have creative ideas. And thanks for watching today. This is Janet from ADORNit, and we'll see you again soon.